After an entire year of nothing but remote viewing, fans once again begin to return to watching their teams play live in our favorite venues. But today, we highlight some of the stadiums that we aren't as excited to revisit. All 30 NFL stadiums are unique in their own ways. Soldier Field is the oldest. AT&T Stadium is by far the most dreamy. And then, well, there are some stadiums that don't have a lot to offer in terms of excitement or creativity. Whether they're outdated, boring, or just lacking in interesting features, these are the 10 worst stadiums in the NFL. Number 10. Metlife Stadium, New York Giants and New York Jets. Metlife Stadium took over as the home for the Giants and Jets in 2010. It was obviously a much-needed upgrade over Giants Stadium, but over a decade later, Metlife Stadium just doesn't stack up with most of the other new state-of-the-art NFL stadiums. Though the Giants and Jets are marketed as New York teams, the stadium is actually located in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Metlife is a giant hassle for fans to commute to. Remember the failed mass transit plan for Super Bowl 48 between the Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks? MetLife Stadium, which hosted WrestleMania 35, also has awful turf quality. It's led to an alarming amount of injuries to notable players. Remember the Week 2 2020 game between the San Francisco 49ers and New York Jets? The Niners lost Nick Bosa, Raheem Mostert, Solomon Thomas, and Jimmy Garoppolo to various ankle and knee injuries. Bosa's was a season-ending ACL tear, while Garoppolo was a high ankle sprain that largely derailed the 49ers season. Understandably, 49ers star Eric Armstead was fed up with the turf after the game. A not-so-ideal location that's tough to get to, and a field turf that's proven to be quite dangerous. Yeah, that's enough to land MetLife on our list. Number 9. Bank of America Stadium, Carolina Panthers. Even though it only opened in 1996, Bank of America Stadium is one of the oldest NFL venues. The Panthers franchise played its inaugural 1995 campaign at Memorial Stadium, the home of the Clemson Tigers, before moving to Bank of America in 96. The Panther blue-colored seats are nice and all, but this palace doesn't really offer anything unique compared to the newer NFL stadiums. That's just how it is when you're much older than, say, SoFi or AT&T Stadium. Bank of America has undergone several necessary renovations over the years, however. In 2021, it was announced that the venue would undergo $50 million worth of renovations for the Charlotte FC MLS club. The changes will include the introduction of a 210-foot LD board. The soccer team will also get brand new locker rooms, though that obviously doesn't benefit the NFL club. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, we would have viewed this as one of the nicest NFL stadiums. But hey, you know, it's like comparing a 90s cell phone to your new iPhone. Number 8. Tiaa Bank Field, Jacksonville Jaguars. This has been the home of the Jaguars dating back to their 1995 inaugural season. Similar to Bank of America Stadium, this one just leaves a lot to be desired when you compare it to the newer, pricier NFL stadiums. Though we don't love the stadium itself, Tiaa Bank Stadium has one of the league's premier locations, adjacent to St. John's River. It's hard to beat that. Owner Saheed Khan wasted no time upgrading the stadium after he bought the team, throwing around $63 million in upgrades. In 2014, the Jaguars revealed the world's largest video boards, which measure 362 feet in length. And yes, Tiaa Bank Field has a swimming pool. That stuff is pretty cool and all, but the stadium is outdated compared to, well, most other venues. And thanks to the Jaguars' consistent struggles, the fan atmosphere is often dull, and the team consistently ranks near the bottom in attendance. This stadium certainly isn't awful, and there are far worse venues across the professional sports world. But we just have to be real here. We don't have Tiaa Bank Field on our bucket list. Other than the swimming pool, what else do you really want to go there for? But hey, perhaps Trevor Lawrence will give us a reason to go check it out in the future. Number 7. Raymond James Stadium, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs played at Tampa Stadium from 1976 to 1997 before moving to Raymond James Stadium. This place, of course, is highlighted by its giant pirate ship, which measures 103 feet in length. Other than the pirate ship, Raymond James Stadium really doesn't offer a whole lot. It does have a special piece of history, though. In the 2020 season, the Bucs became the first team to play in and win the Super Bowl in their own stadium, defeating the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. To few months later, the stadium hosted WrestleMania 37. But Raymond James Stadium usually ranks near the bottom third of NFL stadium rankings. The quality of the field is fine, but again, it just doesn't have any other feature that stand out aside from the pirate ship. It was only introduced in 1998, but again, that's much older compared to all of these other beautiful stadiums. It could surely use some upgrades. Why not add a swimming pool like the Jaguars? The Bucs play in the sunny Florida weather after all. Number 6. Nissan Stadium, Tennessee Titans. After relocating from Houston in 1997, the franchise played 1 year at Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium before moving to Vanderbilt Stadium in 1998. The Titans then moved into what is now called Nissan Stadium in 1999. The one beautiful thing about this stadium is the location in Nashville, right across from the downtown part of the city. It's right on the Cumberland River. You really can't ask for a much better view as far as the location is concerned. But otherwise, the stadium and game day experience itself falls into the meh category. The franchise has only recently returned to relevance under Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill. So, the atmosphere at Nissan Stadium isn't exactly anything special. The stadium itself lacks any special or intriguing features. If you want to be one of the premier stadiums in the NFL, you need something that really stands out. Nissan Stadium just doesn't have that something. Number 5. Highmark Stadium, Buffalo Bills. There is no denying that the Bills fan base is among the rowdiest and most passionate in all of sports. But this ranking isn't based solely on fan noise and atmosphere. Overall, Highmark Stadium just leaves quite a bit to be desired. Highmark Stadium, which opened in 1973, is the 4th oldest stadium in the NFL. Only Soldier Field, Lambeau Field, and Arrowhead Stadium are older. But while those 3 venues carry a ton of historic significance and an incredible game day experience, Highmark Stadium doesn't exactly stack up. This is simply an old and outdated stadium with very few enticing features to go with it. Highmark Stadium just hasn't really modernized in any way over the years. As Bills fans know, however, there have been plenty of talks about a new stadium coming up in the future. Deep-pocketed ownership would obviously love it. Highmark Stadium has been home to plenty of great memories and all, but unless it undergoes some major renovations, the simple solution is to build a new venue. Number 4. Firstenergy Stadium, Cleveland Browns. Along with the aforementioned Nissan Stadium, Firstenergy Stadium was one of 2 NFL venues to open up in the final year of the millennium in 1999, coinciding with the Browns' reactivation into the NFL. Everyone knows how rowdy the Dog Pound can get. This city knows how to throw some epic tailgating parties, and it's especially admirable because the Browns have been the NFL's worst team in the 21st century. You simply have to love the way this city embraces its football team, even throughout the bad years. There's a reason they call this venue the Factory of Sadness, folks. But with all due respect to the franchise and its fans, Firstenergy Stadium just doesn't do much for us compared to most other stadiums. It's not too old by any means, and it received a facelift following $125 million worth of renovations that got finished in 2015. One bonus for tourists and locals is that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is right by the stadium, so you can easily tie that and a Browns game together in a day. But that doesn't make Firstenergy Stadium itself that much better. It's rather vague in terms of features. It's really the fans that make the stadium atmosphere seem better than it is. Number 3. Paul Brown Stadium, Cincinnati Bengals. This venue opened in 2000, 1 year after the interstate rival Cleveland Browns opened up their new stadium. This place is named after Browns and Bengals franchise icon Paul Brown, who founded the Cincinnati football team and even briefly served as their president. The jungle is barely over 2 decades old, but it certainly seems a lot older when you compare it to the NFL's top stadiums. Paul Brown Stadium has a capacity of 65,535. The Bengals almost never come close to selling out, however. In 2019, the team averaged just 47,179 fans per game, the second lowest mark in the NFL. That obviously has a lot to do with the constant losing and questionable ownership of Mike Brown. And it's not as if Paul Brown Stadium offers special state-of-the-art amenities that make you want to go other than for the purpose of seeing a Bengals football game. On the positive side, the stadium features 56 concession stands, so at least you're not waiting too long to get food or drinks. Speaking of which, the Bengals have reasonable prices for their concessions. For any fan, hey, that's a bonus, because paying $10 for a beer is just flat out ridiculous. So that much is nice and all, but Paul Brown Stadium could certainly use some cool techie upgrades. Number 2. Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Dolphins. There's a lot of history at Hard Rock Stadium. Miami fans are spoiled with so many great memories from Dan Marino and Don Shula here.
The venue has also held 6 Super Bowl games, most recently Super Bowl 54 between the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers, and of course the New Orleans Saints' epic Super Bowl 44 victory over the Indianapolis Colts.
The history is there, sure, but the overall quality of the stadium? Not so great, Bob. Hard Rock Stadium, home of the Dolphins since 1987, is the 6th oldest stadium in the NFL. And, trust us, the age shows it. There are several issues that stand out. For one, the stadium is in Miami Gardens, not downtown Miami. So it's not exactly the easiest place to commute to, and that means long traffic waits before and after games. And hey, let's face it, nobody likes that. There isn't a whole lot to see outside of the stadium either. A simple Google search of an aerial view, and you see a ton of parking spaces surrounding Hard Rock Stadium, and not a whole lot else. The field conditions are among the worst too. Just look at Super Bowl 41 between the Colts and Chicago Bears. It was so tough to watch. But such is life in the city that's very prone to heavy rainfall. There have been plenty of renovations throughout the years, but those haven't done much in terms of changing the public opinion of Hard Rock Stadium. It consistently ranks near the very bottom of the list when it comes to current NFL stadiums. Number 1. Fedex Field, Washington Football Team. Dan Snyder just might be the worst owner in professional sports, so it's only fitting that his football team has what is quite literally the undisputed worst stadium in the NFL. Fedex Field, located in Landover, Maryland, opened in 1997. Although, one step inside and you'll think you took a time machine back to 1970. You don't have to be a Washington fan to know all about the ridiculous issues with commuting to this stadium. It's not a convenient location to access if you're using public transit. The playing surface is renowned for being the very worst in the league. Thankfully, in 2021, it was announced that the football team would replace the grass. So, hey, that's a plus. What else? Oh, yeah, so the location isn't super convenient, and Snyder briefly banned signs from the stadium because why should fans be allowed to have fun at a football game? Especially when they've purchased overpriced tickets to watch a mediocre football team. Washington may have a very loyal fan base and all, and the fans do their best to make the atmosphere special, but the long losing history, the stadium location, and Snyder's no-fun policies all add up to one thing. And that is Fedex Field being the worst stadium in the NFL. But hey, which do you think is the worst stadium in the NFL right now? Join us in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.